Fazza finally reveals why he chose a 60-year-old over his young fans. He stands in the quiet of his private dawn, a prince whose heart has carried stories deeper than the desert sand. Fazza, whose name echoes across towers, sees hearts, steps forward with a truth long hidden beneath the shimmer of fame, a truth the world never expected. For the world saw his young fans, their faces bright as morning, their cheers loud as storms, their dreams tied to his every step. But he carried another dream inside, one no one could see, one protected by years of silence. And today the gates of his heart open. He speaks not with pride, but with remembrance, remembering a touch that steadied him, a voice shaped by 6 decades of life, a presence quiet yet stronger than any roar. The woman the world never imagined. The woman 60 years old. The woman who stood where crowds could not. The woman who understood the prince behind the fame. He chose her not because she was young, not because she was new, but because she carried the light of experience, a light no camera could capture, a light the world had forgotten to see. He recalls the moment he met her. No celebration around, no applause, only a stillness that belonged to fate. She looked at him not as a royal, not as a name carved in gold, but as a man searching for truth. She did not try to win him. She did not chase him. She simply saw him, and in her seeing he found peace. In her presence he found a silence that healed, a silence that taught him who he was. Beyond the crown, beyond the luxury, beyond the world that followed his footsteps. Fazza speaks of strength, not the strength shown in arenas, desert skies, but the strength of a woman who survived years, who stood through storms of life, who carried wisdom the world refuses to cherish. Her lines of age held stories. Her eyes held galaxies. Her heart held patience. She knew the rhythm of loss. She knew the way of forgiveness. She knew the meaning of love without noise. And this was what he chose. A love without noise. A love without demand. A love shaped by time. A love shaped by truth. He remembers how the world questioned him. Why choose her, they whispered. Why choose age over glow? Why choose quiet over applause? But the prince smiled, for only he knew the truth. Only he knew the comfort he found in her. Only he knew the courage she placed in his hands. Only he knew the calm she anchored inside him. He sees her standing far from the noise, her silver hair like moonlit dunes, her calm breath carrying decades, her presence steady as the horizon. She did not try to be young. She did not try to belong. She simply lived, and in her living she became his refuge, his teacher, his quiet reason, his unexpected destiny. Fazza now steps into the open, revealing what he once guarded. He chose the 60-year-old woman because she held what youth cannot: depth, patience, silence, truth. He chose her because she listened, not with ears, but with a heart touched by time. He chose her because she loved without fear, without rush, without pretending, because in the world continued to speak, whispers rising like wind around palace walls, speculation weaving through markets, screens, gatherings. People wondered how a prince, loved by millions, followed by youth from every corner, could choose a woman whose years had traveled farther than their dreams. But Fazza walked steady, unaffected by the noise, holding a truth the world was not ready to understand. He remembered the first time she spoke to him, not with admiration, not with trembling excitement, but with the soft firmness of someone who had seen storms come and go. Her words simple, her tone calm, her eyes watching him not as a symbol, but as a man carrying the weight of nations. She saw his exhaustion, his hidden ache, his longing for something real, and her presence reached into him. Steadier than any hand, warmer than any crowd, she became the place where his soul could rest. He knew she held years that shaped her heart into a map of wisdom, every line on her skin a story, every memory a lantern. She walked through life with quiet courage, not asking for applause, not seeking validation. She survived loss. She built strength. She learned to love with a depth that only time can carve. This depth drew him in, like an oasis he never expected to find, like a calm the desert only reveals at dawn. She taught him the beauty of patience, of stillness, of choosing presence over speed. With her, he learned that love does not have to explode. It can simply breathe. It can simply exist. It can shape itself into something gentle, something lasting, something carried by truth rather than show. Youth offered excitement, but she offered clarity. Youth offered spark, but she offered flame, a flame that burned slow, steady, faithful. When he visited her for the first time away from the world, she welcomed him without ceremony, no extravagance, no gold, no performance, only authenticity. Her home carried the scent of old memories. Her hands carried grace polished by decades. She poured him tea with the same calm she poured into life. And he felt small, not in weakness, but in wonder, for he had never met someone who lived so fully, without trying to impress, without trying to shine. She simply was, and that was enough to move a prince. He spoke to her of burdens, of decisions that weighed like mountains, of nights he felt alone despite the roar of admiration around him. She listened, not to answer, but to understand, not to be seen, but to see him. And in that listening he found healing, a healing that slipped into the quiet corners of his heart, a healing no audience could ever give. She reminded him of the value of time, not the time measured by schedules and deadlines, but time measured in growth, in reflection, in the courage to begin again. She lived through decades of change, yet remained soft, remained open, remained strong. Her softness was not fragility. Her strength was not hardness. She carried balance in a way youth often forgets. This balance became his anchor, a reason to return, again and again, until he realized he did not want to return without. The day arrived when Fazza could no longer keep the truth folded inside his heart. The years of silence had grown heavy. The story of the 60-year-old woman had become a river pushing against its own banks. He knew the world would question him, judge him, try to reshape his truth into their version of logic. But he also knew that love built on honesty must be spoken, even when the world is not ready. So he stepped into the open, not as a prince, not as a figure held high, but as a man choosing the path his heart recognized. He looked at her standing beside him, a presence calm as the desert after rain, her silver strands shimmering like quiet moonlight, her gaze steady, her breath unhurried. She carried nothing of the fear the world expected, She carried grace instead, grace shaped by 6 decades, grace untouched by the noise of youth, grace that stood strong in its own truth. He realized in that moment why he had chosen her. Not despite her age, but because of it. The world had offered him admirers, thousands of young hearts reaching toward him, hoping to be noticed, hoping to be chosen. But admiration is not love. Excitement is not depth. Brightness is not wisdom. Youth shines, but time glows. And he wanted the glow found in her, the glow of lived stories, the glow of quiet resilience, the glow of a soul that had learned how to stay soft even after storms. He told her once that she was his horizon, not because she was far, but because she held the promise of direction, a guide in a world full of noise. She listened to his confession with the same calm she always carried, her heart steady like a heartbeat learned through years. She did not ask why he loved her. She did not doubt his devotion. She simply accepted it. For love had taught her acceptance long before he was born, and he found safety in that acceptance, a safety the world could never give. He remembered afternoons spent in her presence. No royal guards, no photographers, no echo of crowds, only stillness, only warmth, only conversations shaped not by haste, but by understanding. She spoke of life, of mistakes turned into wisdom, of heartbreak turned into strength, of patience turned into peace. And every word she shared planted roots inside him, roots he never felt with anyone else. With her he felt grounded. With her he felt seen. With her he felt human. He knew that the world measured beauty by years, but the heart measures beauty by truth. And her truth was beautiful, her spirit unbroken, her kindness unwavering, her wisdom shining in ways no youth could mimic. He chose her because she had lived, because she had felt, because she had grown, because she had risen, and because she never allowed the world to dim her light. The world continued to talk, their voices swirling like dust storms, their questions sharp, their judgments careless. But love stands taller than opinions. Love breathes through the noise. Love stays when everything else fades. And Fazza stayed, unshaken, unmoved, loyal to the woman whose age became his compass, loyal to the woman whose heart